So you've heard from the presentation that there are lots of levers for change that exist across the ecosystem and across sectors, whether we're talking about the private sector, education, whether we're talking about health, access to leadership roles, or whether we're talking about supporting the next generation of Black youth. I'm pleased to pivot to a panel where we can focus a little bit more on the barriers, understand some of the stories that I mentioned earlier, collect some of that qualitative insight. So we'll talk a little bit about barriers, but then ultimately I want to pivot to talk about the future. What are we optimistic about? What are we hopeful for? What makes us feel positive? What makes us feel energized? So I will invite each of our panelists up one by one. Feel free to take a seat, and then we'll go through some questions. So we have Dahabo Ahmed-Omer, the Chief Executive Officer of the BlackNorth Initiative. We have Francis Delsol, the Vice President of Partnerships, Outreach and Procurement of the Black Business and Professional Association. We have Trevor Massey, the Chair of the Lifelong Leadership Institute. We have Floydeen Charles-Fridal, Executive Director of Caribbean African Canadian Social Services. We have Ovie Onagbeboma, Executive Director of the Canadian Black Nurses Alliance. And we have Sabine Soumare, Executive Director of the Women Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub. Oh, there you go. Okay. Okay, so kind of a stacked panel. A lot to get through, but our first question is really just to understand some of the programs that you lead to support diverse Black communities, because like I said, this is really a panel focused on hope, and so I think the audience wants to know what exists. So we'll start with Dahabo. Dahabo, tell us a little bit about the BlackNorth Initiative, the programs that you provide to support diverse Black communities.
Thank you. So I'm really, really happy to be here. I was so happy I got here at 8. And I live about an hour and 15 minutes away, so I was excited to be here. Look, I think one of the biggest things that BlackNorth probably does is we meet people where they are. I think the biggest challenge right now within this movement of equity and racial justice and recognition is there's a forcefulness that comes with it. There's this idea of blame and shame and pushing and pressuring. We approach this work with a lot of humility and a lot of grace. And that takes a lot of energy from us. And it's the kind of work that probably leads you to a few sleepless nights and a lot of manicures. But I think the reality for us has been that if I'm able to have a conversation with you and allow you to understand why this work is important from a humanitarian perspective, not from a policy perspective. Policies are needed, legislations are needed, but I think BlackNorth does this work with a lot of humanity. And with that came 500 corporate signatories representing $1.3 billion of the market cap. You heard about some of the results thus far. We're halfway through the pledge. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of hope that comes with that because change takes time. And I'll just say this one thing very quickly because I think it's important. I am a Muslim Black woman, 6'1". That is my superpower, all of that. Oh no, clap for that. Yeah, that's good. Look, I think the reality for us has been that if someone tells me that this kind of change takes a year or 2 years, I'm offended by that. And I'll tell you why I'm offended. Because then you're telling me that society, institutions, systems decided consciously to be racist for years and years and years, consciously have completely removed us from this work. And you're gonna tell me that that impact takes a year to change? You must not be taking me seriously. You must not think that I have value. You must not think that I'm worthy. And so I speak against that. I speak against the reality that it takes 2 years or 3 or 5. I think it's gonna take a very long time. And so I am hopeful, and I do this work with a lot of grace because I think that's what is needed. Otherwise, I'm gonna be it's too exhausting to talk about anti-Black racism and be Black at the same time, in conjunction. And so I think the reality for us has been, how do we do this with a lot of effort, but with a lot of heart, because I think that's what it needs. And I think ultimately people are good. I don't think people are evil ultimately. I think they need a path, and that's, I think, what we've been trying to do. But it's hard. I'm not gonna say it's not hard. It is. But you come in there and you smile, and you're Black and you're joyful and you're beautiful, and it works. I guarantee you it works every time. And so, very happy to share this panel with these wonderful Black, beautiful people here. There's only one man here. I think he feels really warm over there. But it tells you, right? There's something about Black women in this space, so thank you for that.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, Francis, over to you. Tell us a little bit about the work that the BBPA does specifically to build up young professionals.
Thank you, Nancy. But before that, I just want to say that you've debunked the idea that data is boring. So when you, I think you should have your own talk show on data. I know Nadine will want to do your marketing.
Someone fund it.
I just want to be in the back end supporting you. Thank you. So the BBPA is one of Canada's oldest and strongest national Black advocacy organizations. We're 42 years young, and we've never wavered from our mandate, which is to encourage and support the pursuit of entrepreneurship, business, professional excellence, higher education, and economic development. We do this by delivering about 20 programs, like Capital Skills, which is funded by TMU and Future Skills. It is designed to empower Black entrepreneurs in Canada by facilitating access to capital, navigating financial landscapes, and offering workshops and mentoring. It aims to address systemic barriers, enhance financial literacy, and provide access to loans, grants, and supporting economic empowerment. BSL is another program funded by TMU and Future Skills. And I'm so proud that one of our staff today, Kerry Lee, is wearing her BSL, is proudly wearing her BSL sweatshirt. So I saw her walk in and I thought how appropriate. BSL, much like the other program, is funded by TMU and Future Skills and supports entrepreneurs in Canada through skills building, mentorship, and networking opportunities. And it tackles barriers to promote entrepreneurship in the Black, African, and Caribbean communities. It's focused on enhancing entrepreneurial capabilities and fostering economic growth. Street Entrepreneurs is another program funded by BSL. It's a national program that is based, it's learning a program that aligns to youth with entry-level entrepreneurial skills. Black Men in Business, which is also founded under the BSL program, provides Black men a safe space with which to explore, share their stories, and participate in programs led by successful Black men, again aimed at enhancing entrepreneurial capabilities, but allowing our Black men to see who they can be. Rise Up, which you saw, which was spoken about earlier, funded by, it's a collaboration of the BBPA, TMU, and CASA Foundation. This initiative supports Black female entrepreneurs and provides an opportunity for them at any stage of their business. And like was mentioned earlier, last year we got over 1,700 applications, all vying to win $10,000. So that indicates the need in our community. Adapt, also founded by TMU, provides skills training, job readiness, and job placement. We have other programs at the BBPA, several other programs, but those are the ones funded by TMU. We've got a BAIDS program, which is a wraparound program. We've got a mentorship program at the scholarship and entrepreneurial level. We've got our scholarships now in its 37th year. We've offered over $6 million in scholarships to over 3,500 Black youth entering university. And of course, we have our Harry Drum Awards, which is coming up on the 27th of April at the Beanfield Center, so we look forward to seeing you all there. We operate with a small, dedicated staff, but however, the work we do is impactful, and through our efforts, we have seen significant life-changing skills in the Black community. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Francis. Amazing work. And I hope that everyone in the audience is able to find synergies as our panelists are sharing the expertise and the work that they're doing. Maybe there's something that you and your communities can leverage. So Trevor, over to you. We spoke a little bit yesterday. Can you tell us more about the work you do to support Black youth? Yes, all of them.
There you are. A few years ago, in fact, I tell you, 2012, Jamaica celebrated its 50th anniversary as an independent country. And the group that gathered to explore how to recognize this in the Toronto region included a number of wonderful folks who came with all kinds of ideas. One idea is, why don't we have a legacy project whereby we can have a project that really works for years and years to come? Because you know the gala, it all goes to the lake. And so we decided that we'd start an organization called the Lifelong Leadership Institute. Let's invest in leadership. Why? Leaders make things happen. Each and every one of you here carry a leadership gene, and you're involved in some way, leading organizations, leading operations of all kinds. So we can't get it enough. Do we have lots of leaders in the Black community? Of course we do. Do we need more? We certainly do. So we say, let's start a pipeline. Let's enter from early. And so the Lifelong Leadership Institute established a program called Leadership by Design. The notion is that you can actually teach people or you can educate young people so that they can enhance their leadership capacity. And so it is that we accepted our first cohort of students in 2016, and we accepted 24 students in grade 10, because the Leadership by Design program takes 3 years of high school and then on into post-secondary. So they start in grade 10 and proceed through 10, 11, and 12. So we started with 24 students in 2016. Last September, we accepted 125. And you can imagine that when we meet with a cohort of grade 12, 11, and 10 students, plus parents, we're looking at around 500 people. So on a given Saturday, if ever you want to enjoy yourself, come on down, open the door, and when you enter, 200 plus wonderful Black youth, you know, with sparkles in their eyes, and parents who are there as well, because the parents can't drop the kids off and go shopping at Yorkdale. Okay, they're party to the process. We're partners with them, and whatever it is we're doing, it's their business to be able to reinforce it. Besides, you understand that whenever you go out with your child and you're driving home, that's when the good conversation takes place. Okay, and the literature says conversations between parents and students is an important feature for student success. So what do we do in the Leadership by Design program? We invest in providing them with the essential skills to be successful, to optimize their talents, and to really allow them to pursue fully the career ambitions that they have. And so that's the business that we're in. And so we don't spend a lot of time academically exploring what is leadership and so on. We just simply say that leadership starts with simply having Black kids get up out of bed in the early morning, drive down to Toronto from Hamilton, and participate in learning in the Black community. It starts there. Getting there in time is important. We don't have to teach them that, just have them practice it. That's very important. Dressing right, comportment, those are the things that sometimes we forget to trade on and place emphasis on. And so the programming involves intellectual curiosity. How do we do that? Imagine a symposium totally given to artificial intelligence, 500 people in the room. Imagine a symposium on the issue of democracy, which is a really important aspect of our lives. 500 people in the room exploring democracy, and so on. Climate change. Leaders need to be savvy to the issues of the day. So Black youth are gathered to explore these themes on a Saturday, because that's when we meet. We're not a school with physical assets. We meet at university locations to normalize universities or in corporate sectors. Problem solving, social working as a team. How do you teach that? Well, December the 15th, had you come down to the CIBC headquarters downtown at 81 Bay Street, you'd have seen 100 Black youth sitting at 14 tables, 7 to a table, and what they were there to do is a hackathon to solve problems and to present their solutions to judges. This is active learning. We talk about effective communications. We provide free Python, free computers for those who need it. We never make that public, by the way, because then everyone wants. And we provide opportunities for students to really expand their talents. We'll have 4 to 6 students this summer at universities across Canada in the SHAD program, something which was a big secret to the black community. But imagine 1 month at a university across Canada with other Canadians, black youth standing out, feeling proud. Let me leave you with this. How do you make black youth feel confident and feel a sense of belonging? And how do we do this without having to ask other people to do that for us? Because they're not doing it. So our students well know that if they enter this room, they belong. Wherever their feet are planted, they belong. And so when we go, as we do, to, like 2 weeks ago, there's a TEDx talk at U of T. We're there with our shirts on, and one of the speakers was one of our students, okay? When we go to a conference, as we did when we had a Nobel laureate, Maria Ressa here at TMU, we conspired to make sure that our students went and sat in the front row. And it does a whole lot to how they see themselves, because we all like to tiptoe in the back and sit around. No, they're going to the front and they discover that they belong. So what we're doing is empowering black youth to be able to take on roles of serious leadership in the future and to feel that agency that they are good, they're beautiful, they're bright, they're savvy, and the future belongs to them, but they have to be willing to do the work, and we have to be encouraging them to do that work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Trevor. Okay, we'll go to Ovie, and then we'll go to Floydeen, and then we'll go to Sabine.
Okay, so how many people here think they will never encounter a nurse in their life journey? Put up your hand. Anybody? So there's nobody. Okay, so this is where I'm gonna do my segue, and this is exactly why Canadian Black Nurses Alliance exists. Just to give you some background, how many people think they will never encounter a black nurse or PSW in their lifetime? It won't exist because they are highly overrepresented at the front line. So CBNA started from my leadership experience, and just to kind of speak about that idea, within that short time, I actually had the privilege to be sitting at this seat with the experience of attending a BBPA program called Boss Women. And in that program, when I had this idea, I wanted to formalize my idea, shift out of my nursing leadership skills, and make sure that this business was going to be operating in a fundamental way that will allow me to even be here today. So 3 years later, approaching 4 years, I was the first recipient of the pitch for the Boss Women winner. So just to speak about the importance of those skill sets as an entrepreneur to ensure that your business is sustained, the strategy makes sense, your network is the right network, and you're also pacing yourself to do this business journey in a way where you're not rushing and doing things ahead of your time, but understanding that it takes time to build a really sound business. And I say that because I'm sitting with people who've done like 40 years and 20 years. I'm listening to all their programs like, woof. So let me continue now. So CBNA, Canadian Black Nurse Alliance, it is a national organization for black nurses. And, you know, it's a non-for-profit organization. It's driven from the underrepresentation of black nurses in leadership, academia, research, and entrepreneurship. All right, so we're hearing the same themes. So through CBNA, nurses and nursing students are giving the avenue to network, support, and share resources for having successful academic and professional careers. So we do this by bridging the gaps. CBNA will empower black nurses to embark on leadership positions and draw inspiration through interactions with nurses and critical allies to successfully navigate different areas in the healthcare industry and beyond. Now, I do want to point out the importance of critical allies, co-conspirators, right? This is the reality of the work that we're doing against anti-black racism and advancing the experience of black Canadians and people from African descent. When you look at my intersectionality, I'm a Nigerian Guyanese woman born in Canada, right? So people will just see the first and last name and they assume she's an African woman, she's an immigrant, and the experience of immigrants, especially internationally educated nurses, is so much different compared to people born in Canada. However, when you're born in Canada, you still go through the same experiences. Right? So when you're looking at CBNA, we have a very dyad model. We support professional nurses, and we support undergraduate nursing students. And one of the ways that we do that is through programs. So one of the 3 programs that we're extremely proud of is our professional mentorship program, which pairs professional nurses with professional mentors across the nation in whatever area that they want to get support in, whether it's in academia, whether it's in leadership, whether it's in pivoting to become a nurse practitioner. Now what we also had the privilege of doing where we got the undergraduate students is when we had our provincial chapters, we had an undergraduate student from McMaster University who just wanted to belong. They were attending McMaster, they barely saw any people who looked like them, and they heard about CBNA, and this happened within the first month of this idea coming out there. So this came from someone just telling them about my idea. And this nursing student started our first academic chapter at McMaster, which is led by Black nursing students. And what we've been able to do now is scale these academic chapters across the nation, and we have up to 15 academic chapters led by Black nursing students. Now, the biggest piece is you can't do anything without money. So in thinking about how do we bring in some cash flow to the organization, one of the things that we also did last year is we started our first institutional membership with the University of Toronto. And we're piloting that membership, and that's something that we will scale to the other universities as well to ensure that the resources and the support for students and our programs are actually sustained as well. When you're looking at one of the programs that we are going to be initiating next is what's very close and near and dear to me is about leadership. So how can we create a group mentorship leadership program that are allowing Black nurses to pivot into leadership, but not only pivot, how do you navigate what you're going to potentially face? Racism, I was going to say microaggression, but within my members, we don't like that word anymore because it's not micro. It's racism. So we're shedding away and moving away from calling it microaggression and calling it what it is. It's anti-Black racism. And how do you pivot it? But most importantly, how do you collect the data in the system and make it very clear these are happenings in institutions and organizations, and not shying away from allowing your voice and the data to show so we can get to the tables where the United Nations know this is actually happening in Canada, right? You probably never truly hear about racism in nursing in Canada. You probably hear about nursing shortages. You probably hear about we're not paid enough. But racism in nursing is huge. And we look forward to, unfortunately, bringing forward that data so that we can actually address this issue. And we're doing that in a way that's advocacy, but the main focus of CBNA is empowering our community and giving them the skills and the confidence to go after those positions that they want and navigate whether it's anti-Black racism challenges or leadership challenges in a way that makes them successful and makes their mark within the society.
Amazing.
Good morning. I am Floydeen Charles-Fridal, humbled to occupy the office of the Executive Director at Caribbean African Canadian Social Services, which is the successor organization to the over 60-year-old Jamaican Canadian Association in our community here in Toronto. You may wonder why, as a Black mental health agency, Black-led, Black-serving, Black-mandated, 3B as we're called, or B3, is on this panel. We're on this panel because there is a correlation between mental health and economics. We know that if you know about the social determinants of health and the social mental determinants of health. We work with youth 0 to 29. We are the only Black mental health serving agency that offers our services from an African-centered, evidence-based approach, thereby looking at interventions that make sense to us, that are developed for us, by us, and about us. We are also involved in a number of programs that serve women, that serve male-identified persons, and most recently, we have been actively involved in supporting our brothers and sisters from the continent who have been seeking asylum here in Toronto through a program called Our People's Keeper 2. And in that program, we provide wraparound supports for the participants, and this also includes mental health supports. We know that through our Boss Life program, where we work with young Black entrepreneurs, what we see most is the mental distress that is caused by economic hardship, and also about entrepreneurs who are trying to strive, who have also had engagement and involvement with the criminal justice systems. So we work through life skills supports and all kinds of various supports with a number of partners to be able to increase their chances of success. So overall, CAFCAN as an agency is striving to be recognized as the thought and action leader around establishing evidence-based and best practices in working with our communities. Although we're located in Toronto, we're geographically located with a population focus with a mandate to serve this country. The last initiative that is of importance is our Meeting of the Minds, where we have a national monthly gathering of scholars and educators and researchers and business people who meet across the country to influence some decisions around policy and research. And we are pretty proud of that because our gathering has resulted in the hundreds of millions of dollars that this government has invested in Black communities since the pandemic and since George Floyd and since the decade. So we were happy to hear the extension of the decade so we can continue to do more advocacy in this work. Thanks. That's my timer.
Okay, Sabine, over to you.
I will be very short because I know that we have to be on schedule. Hello, everyone. So my name is Sabine Soumare. I'm the Executive Director of the Women Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, which is part of the Diversity Institute, and I work very closely with Wendy Cousier. Happy to see you back, Wendy, in the room. So I feel like, I don't know if I want to present WEC because you presented so many data, and I believe most of you know about the Women Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, as we call WEC, but just a few words. So the Women Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub is part of the the Government of Canada's Women Entrepreneurship Strategy. It's important to remind us because it's been like 5 to 6 years that the Government of Canada decided to put together a strategy and put money behind it, $6 billion, just to make sure that we support women entrepreneurs. And our work is making sure that all women entrepreneurs are included